What's up, y'all? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Potomac. This is season 9, episode I don't know, but this is part 2 of the reunion, and I did enjoy it. I still think part 1 is better, mainly because part 1 made me laugh more. This got a cute little chuckles out of me, but I feel like Mia was a letdown for me. Okay, because I expected more and she did not deliver. But let's get into this review. Y'all know sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy, just a little bit. And I don't really have much to talk to y'all about. So first up, if you want to know my thoughts about Karen and them 4 DUIs, ooh, girl, Karen going to jail. Oh, I'ma hate to see that lady in orange, but she's going. At this point, girl, you got to go. You got to go. But I talked about that in one of the drama videos that I recorded on Sunday. I'll put the thumbnail on the screen. But I talked about Karen and the DUIs. I talked about Vivian responding to Stacey after what she said on this part 2 of the reunion. And then I also talked about the girls being at the NAACP Awards. So if you want to know my thoughts about all of that information, please check that video out. I'll probably put the link in the description box below or probably in the pinned comments. And y'all know I try my best to timestamp all of my videos. So if you go watch that video, it's already a timestamp in the comment section saying where the Potomac information is. So moving on from that, let's talk about Mia and Gordon's Instagram Live. So shouts out to Really Be TV Reviews. She recorded their Instagram Live. It's like 14 minutes. I watched all 14 minutes, but I watched it on like 1.65 speed. Because when I tell you they wasn't saying nothing important. It was a bunch of like rambling and Mia trying to shift blame. But if you need a good laugh, go watch that video and watch Gordon's face the entire time. Like the entire time. And watch Mia's face when Gordon is talking. They did not have a conversation before. Well, you know what? I'll take that back. I think they had a conversation, but they really did not plan how they were going to talk about said information on the Instagram Live. Because Mia would say something and Gordon would shift back and look at her and be like, Like it was a tick, like, yeah, bro, you lying. And then when Gordon would say something, Mia would be like, oh, I said, girl, this is stupid. You are better off being quiet, Mia. Now she talking about she on this spiritual journey with the Lord and she fasting. And I said, girl, y'all are always guilty. That's how you always know someone's guilty about something, because they run, all of a sudden they want to run back to God and be like, I'm fasting and the Lord has called me for so much more. Has he? Has he or has they? You know how whoever you pray to, have they? Because it's definitely given that Mia is trying to like prepare herself just in case they kick her off the show. Because the way that she was talking in that live was just kind of like, if something doesn't serve you anymore, you gotta leave. So it's giving that she's trying to be like, you know what, if they tell me I gotta leave or I'm getting fired, then I'm just gonna take that L and leave. Because I was just like, girl, this is stupid. This was such a waste of time and she should have just been quiet. So let's talk about this episode. So it opens up where it left off, where we have Mia frustratedly leaving Stacey's dressing room, where it was a conversation between Stacey, Mia, and Jazzy. And she's mad because Stacey and Jazzy won't take her weak apology about she doesn't have a capacity to be a good friend. So she's walking through the hallway talking about, I'm leaving. She was like, I can't do this. Someone needs to get me out of this dress. And then she goes to her room and she starts crying. Now, mind you, I don't know if Mia was really crying in that room or if this was the same sound and it was just a voiceover of what we saw on episode 1 after she got wrapped up at that table at the Hatitude party by Giselle and Karen, and she was in the bathroom crying and Jacqueline and Jazzy were checking on her. You know what I'm saying? So she's in there just crying up a storm or fake crying, and everybody else is back on stage. Giselle brings up, like, what's going on in the hallway? Like, did anybody figure out what's going on in the hallway? Wendy is like, what happened in the hallway? And so while that's going on, you end up seeing Andy come off the stage, and we see one of the producers say she's saying that she wants to leave. So Andy's like, I got to do my job. Okay, I got to get her back on that stage. So we see him knocking at Mia's dressing room. He comes in. He tries to be jokey jokey with her and being like, oh, I knew you got the best dressing room, or something to the effect of like, oh, you the one that took my dressing room, because it was a pretty decent sized dressing room. So Mia's in there and she looks like a wilted flower, and she's just like, Andy, I can't. I know I don't have the capacity to be a good friend. I don't right now. I don't. I know I've been a bad friend. And so Andy being like, right now you're shame spiraling, and that's never a good look. Give yourself some grace, okay? The fact that you feel bad and you're hurting this way lets us know that you're a good person. I said, does it? Because right now what it gives to me is that she's frustrated and upset that they won't take her weak apology. But I said, okay, girl. And so while Andy's talking to Mia in her dressing room, you see Ashley and Giselle talking, and Ashley's like, would you ever do me like that? Would you ever leave me like that? And Giselle's like, girl, I would never leave anybody like that. And then Ashley's like, because if you did it to me, I'd put you in a headlock, take you down. And I was like, that got a good laugh out of me, because Ashley was like, I'm serious. Don't play with me like that. So Mia's like, Andy, I just maybe I'm just being this way because, I'm about to finalize my divorce. I said, girl, what? What divorce? Has Gordon or Mia even filed divorce paperwork? Have they even, scratch that, have they even filed the paperwork to be legally separated? The same way that, what's her name? That Ashley and Stacy did, because I don't even think we've seen that, or anybody on the blogs has even acquired that information. I was like, girl, this is a mess. I said, Mia lies so easily, and you can always tell when she's lying because she gets very quiet before she starts to talk, because it's like her brain is trying to like put the lie together as fast as she can. Because I was like, that doesn't even make sense, because on the last episode you said something to the effect of, I'm like Ashley, we're in the final stages of the divorce. Girl, there's no paperwork. Girl, I don't believe it. I, like, everybody on that stage was like, girl, I don't believe you. I don't believe Mia. I was like, girl, that's her talking about, I just emotional because, I'm finalizing my divorce. Girl, you just be lying. Like, oh my gosh, she just be lying. So, like I said, everybody's on stage. We hear a conversation between Eddie and Greg, because Kiarna mentions how Greg is going to be mad at her because she told Greg to be here at like 1:14 or something like that. And Greg, you hear Greg be like, bro, she told me to be here at like 1:15, 1:14, something like that. And it's 4:43. Like, I could have been in the streets of Manhattan. And I would have been Greg. Like, I would have wanted to run the streets of Manhattan and like sightseeing to give me something to eat, instead of being like holed up in like a studio somewhere just waiting for my turn to come on stage. Like, are we even going to see Greg on stage? Because right now it seems like the only time we see someone on stage out of the guys is Eddie on next episode. But okay. So the episode starts, or the reunion really starts back up after Mia gets on stage. So they start back off with Giselle and Ashley. They talk about their lives, the two new men in their lives and all of that stuff. And then we talk about Giselle being an empty nester. And so Andy ends up asking her, like, how did you feel about that? And Giselle says, I was sad and depressed for like 28 hours, but after dropping off the girls, I like it more because I can do whatever I want. And I feel like Giselle likes it more because you can tell even with her reunion outfit, the titties is out. I don't even think we've ever seen Giselle wear something so revealing, even in episode 1. So the girls are out. She got on these like Nicki Minaj stiletto nails. Like, she feeling her zhuzh right about now. So I was like, okay. And I mean, as much as Giselle gets on my nerves, she deserves it, because Giselle put in work with her daughters. The fact that both of her daughters got 4.0s freshman year is a wonderful thing. Grace is doing well in school. Like, she's allowed to celebrate and enjoy her life. She did what she was supposed to do. So then Andy ends up asking her about Jamal and how her relationship is with Jamal. And she's like, no, me and Jamal are still good. We still cool. They then ask her about, it was like a viewer's question about like, why did Jamal and his wife dress up like the characters on Wicked? And that's what everybody said. I thought it was Wicked promotion. Like, it's What's bad is like all of this happened during the time of the movie being out. So of course everyone was going to be like, girl, this is wicked. Or it's giving very much an AKA wedding. But I was tickled by it. So then Andy ends up asking Giselle, so how did the girls like Jamal's new wife? And we find out that the girls were at the wedding, but Jamal's new wife doesn't really have a relationship with them. And I feel like that's messed up. And that's why I don't care that Giselle shaded that lady, because even though her children are like adults, like very like young adults, like, 19, probably 19, between the age of 19 and like 20 or 21, you still should make an effort to get to know them. And I know Jamal got a village, he got a basketball team, but still, you married him knowing that information. You should still take the time to get to know his children. So when Giselle shaded that lady, I thought it was funny because who are you? Like, you gonna marry a man and you don't know his children like that? That says a lot about you, man. Move over from that and we start talking about Giselle and Ashley dating Natsom and Josh. They still in the same place. We don't know if either one of these women are exclusive with these men. Giselle says she's enjoying him. Ashley ends up saying that her and Josh were moving too fast, but they don't have titles yet, so they kind of pump the brakes. Then Andy ends up asking, how did Josh feel about the different names that the ladies called him, like the pool boy or Jack Harlow? And then Ashley ends up being like, he didn't like that at all. His friends were telling him what the girls were saying, and Wendy was like, he didn't like Jack Harlow? Like, girl, okay, he'll deal with it. So then Ashley's like, wow, you're not going to apologize? And Wendy's like, no, like, there's worse things he could have been called. Now, I'll say this. If someone doesn't like what you called them, you should apologize. But I'm going to be honest. I feel like Ashley's putting 20 on 10 because I do not believe that Josh's friends watched this show. And if they did watch the show, they watched the clips of when he was on there. And so what? He got called Jack Harlow, a rich, wealthy, white Kentucky rapper. Like, it's not that deep. I feel like Ashley was more upset with the lateral move comment that Wendy made more than anything. Because I was like, you really trying to act like her calling that man Jack Harlow was that bad? I said, okay, Ashley. But what Wendy said was true, girl. It is a lateral move. You didn't go up in trajectory with the man that you decided to date. Girl, he is 7 years younger than you. He's 30 years old. He doesn't have the wealth that pasty, wet demon of a man that you married had. So he can't really take care of you and your sons the way that you and Sheila got accustomed to. So it is a lateral move. You just went to the side and low-key kind of down. And I think that's what Ashley is upset about. So Ashley feels like Wendy should apologize. But Wendy's like, girl, as many times as you've talked about my marriage and the things that you said, I'm not apologizing for not a thing. Not one thing. So then Ashley's like, what have I said about your marriage, Wendy? What have I said about your marriage? So then Andy's like, yeah, what has she said about your marriage? So then Wendy ends up bringing up what happened during season 6 when they brought that rumor or from that blog page talking about Wendy's husband, Eddie, was cheating on her. And so they do the flashback of when Ashley brings up the blog to Wendy when they're in Williamsburg and saying that that's why Robin and Giselle think that's why she got her body done. And so Ashley's like, I brought the story, like, she was like, it was from a blog. That didn't come out my mouth. It was from a blog. But Wendy's whole thing is like, but you brought it to camera. You knew what you were doing. And I feel like Wendy should have used something else. I would have brought up the whole Deborah situation. I'd have been like, girl, you brought that evil Muppet looking lady to this show to start to cause discourse in my marriage. You'll never get a sorry from me because you brought her to this show for mess. I feel like this wasn't a good example, but I got where Wendy was going because honestly, Ashley knew what she was doing by bringing that to camera. Like, Ashley always tries to act like she don't be playing in the mess, but girl, bringing that story to camera the same way when Candace brought that story about Michael being caught in the casino in his underwear when he was cheating on you when you were pregnant, and you felt some type of way about that, about her bringing that story to camera, Wendy feels the same way. So let's not play them games. So they're going back and forth because Wendy's like, girl, I'm not apologizing. You talked about the father of my kids. So then Ashley ends up saying something about like, does Eddie still work? Is he still a lawyer? And then you hear Stacey be like, whoa, Ashley. And Wendy's like, yeah, he's still a lawyer. What else you got? See, you miserable. You miserable. And Ashley's like, no, I'm calm. I'm calm. I'm calm. I'm calm as a clam. And then she was like, see, I checked you. I checked you. She was like, you ain't checked nothing. She was like, I clocked it. I clocked it. And when they got to this part where they were going back and forth, I was with Andy. And I was with Andy. He was like, okay, can we move on? Can we move on? But in all reality, it was time for them to get into it, because Wendy has always annoyed me with the way that she gives Ashley's grace, because Ashley, out of everyone, has played in your face the hardest, girl. She tried you season 5. She tried you season 6. She called you ferocious season 5. She was talking about how you were condescending, talking about your 4 degrees. Season 6, she helped orchestrate and bring that rumor to camera about your husband and about him, Eddie, possibly cheating on you. Season 7, she was it season 7 when she brought Deborah. I said that Muppet looking lady, okay, that Sims reject character to the show, because she wanted to play. She concocted that. Season 8, the Osu rumors. Like, that lady's been playing with you for the past 4 seasons, and you always give her a pass. It's time for Wendy. Like, if you gonna be this way, keep that same energy. Wendy, you keep that same energy with everybody, because I'm sick of it. I'm sick of you trying to, like, be liked by everyone. So then Wendy just basically is like, girl, we're not going to get anywhere, because you're not going to get no apology out of me. So they move on. So then they start talking about Stacy and what's her name? Stacy and Kiarna. They do, their be-real footage of them and all of that stuff. Talk about how Stacey's stiff. They bring up TJ. They bring up Greg and Kiarna and that situation. So what it boils down with Greg and Kiarna is a pretty bird. She is a bird and a pick-me. And I hate that for her, because she's too pretty for it. She's too pretty for it. We find out that her and Greg did separate, like they said at the end of the season, at the season finale. She's in the midst of buying a condo. I said, be smart, girl, because if it don't work out, you need to make sure you got somewhere to be. So she's purchasing a condo, but they did go ring shopping. So they were like, so when y'all gonna move in again? And Giselle was like, probably when she get that ring. I said, no, girl. If y'all couldn't live together the first time, no. No, I just know this is stupid. So then Kiarna starts trying to cape for Greg about how Greg was uncomfortable with the show, mainly because it was a big transition from me being a friend of to now me filming full time. And then he was already feeling some type of way about the fight that happened. And I'm still amongst these groups of ladies. Like, he was just as upset as I was after I got hurt. Like, so I think it was just a learning process. Andy tries to advocate for Greg by saying, well, he was on Watch What Happens Live. And I did say, I know you're not comfortable with this, but, I'm glad that you're here. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to support her. He also said, Kiarna also brings up how Greg didn't like the fact that she said she didn't feel supported, even though he felt by showing up, he was being supportive. But she told him, like, just being there isn't enough. Like, you also have to, like, encourage me as well. But she's stupid if she married that man. She is so stupid if she married that man. Because I'm like, girl, this is dumb. this is because I just don't understand rushing into a marriage with a man that you say stifles you and makes you feel small. That's just dumb to me. Like, too pretty for this, but you gonna do it anyway. Okay. Over to Stacy. So basically, Andy ends up segueing by saying, like, unlike Greg, it seemed like TJ wanted to be a part of the cameras. So where are you and your former, I think he said former boyfriend. And so everyone's like, former. Wendy points it out, like, did you say former? And Andy was like, yeah. And so they were like, so what does that mean? And Stacey was like, they're not together anymore. So everyone's like, what? And then Kiarna says under her breath, were they ever really together? And I said, she got a good point. Were they ever really together? So I giggled at that. So as the conversation continues, she pretty much lets it be known that TJ is still a very good friend of hers. She really cares about him. But after seeing the way that he spoke to her throughout the show, and her family seeing the way that he spoke to her, because she started to get emotional, she was like, she just realized that this wasn't a relationship she needed to be in. And I think they broke up during the summer, like before, the reunion or something like that. And I'm like, girl, If it comes out that Stacey was paying that man and he was talking to her crazy like that, tragic. Tragic, bro. So they're sitting on the stage and she was like, she still really cares about him. And then she was like, it was hard. People were saying that I was paying for him, and then some people saying that he was more into the trainer than me. And she was like, and Wendy says, yo, that was me. Like, she raised her hand and she's like, yeah, that was me. And so they bring up when Wendy said that at Bravo Fan Fest. And she apologizes to Stacey about it because Stacey was like, you're my friend. Like, TJ is friends with Eddie. Like, why? Like, why would you do that? And so she was like, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry that that hurt you. So then Stacey ends up being like, well, at this point in my life, I got to do what's right for me. I'm recently divorced. So then everyone's like, oh, your divorce is finalized. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, girl, and I'm glad Wendy pointed out, Stacey got divorced before Ashley and Mia, but I guess it's because she waived child support, that all she was getting was alimony, that they didn't have to like argue about that. But I said, girl, that was quick. That was quick. Maybe they had an ironclad prenup or something. I don't know. But everyone cheers for Stacey. She just talks about like right now, she's like really bored. Like, they're doing 1 week on, 1 week off with Arabella. And she was like, when she's not home, she's just kind of bored. Like, she was like, I don't really have nobody to talk to, nobody to boss around. What do I do? So then Wendy was like, call Giselle. And I said, Wendy. So the next question that was asked was pretty much asked about the relationship again that she had with TJ, because they were like, so where are you guys now? And she was like, pretty much we're still friends. So Wendy brings up, so basically y'all aren't having sex. Y'all are pretty much where y'all were when we first met y'all. And they were like, pretty much, yeah. I said, girl. So then Andy ends up being like, I got a question. And can you answer it for me? He was like, what did y'all do? Like, y'all weren't being intimate, but did y'all do other things? And Stacey was just like, Andy. She was like, I don't know if she said they did, face in the place or, 69, but I guess not. Well, they can't really 69 because they wasn't having sex. So I was just kind of like, oh, okay. So then we move on from that. And viewers' question is like, are you sure you wasn't paying for TJ? And then they shade Kenya by bringing up Walter. And yeah, they never gonna let Kenya live that down. But even Walter was a lot nicer to Kenya than TJ. Walter at least treated Kenya with some amount of respect. Like, even in the flashback scene that they showed us, he was still sweet towards her. TJ was just a dick. He was just mean. And Stacey didn't even answer it. So then they started talking about the fashions on the show, how Wendy was saying the girls were comparing, were copying her basically. They show Wendy in that silver dress, then Mia in the silver dress, and then Ashley's confessional and Wendy's confessional. Then they talk about the dress that Giselle wore to the fashion show that Stacey didn't want her to wear. And then they talked about Stacey's outfit to the fashion show and her hair. And then they talked about the whole everyone wearing 316 and all of that stuff. So when we get back onto the stage after doing the B-reel footage, Ashley brings up how she wore the same exact outfit. So I told y'all in the drama video, I addressed Vivian pretty much responding to what Stacey said in this segment. So basically, Wendy brings up how Stacey said F that B about Vivian because Stacey feels like Vivian purposely put her in the same dress as Ashley. But Vivian said online, no, girl, you asked to be in that outfit and I told you that Ashley wore it. But honestly, neither one of them looked that great in the outfit. And you see Stacey was trying to lie about it in the beginning because she said that she didn't say that. She tried to deny it. And then after they went through the whole thing about why she said what she said, she ended up copping to it and being like, and that's why it's F that B. Because Andy was like, what were you upset with her about the dress? And so Stacey says she felt like it was done on purpose, that Vivian put her in the same dress as one of her colleagues. And everyone said colleagues. And she was just kind of like, she did that on purpose. And after I chose to like elevate her business. And so you hear Kiana say, did Vivian really need elevation? And then Giselle was like, you elevated Vivian? And so then Andy said, I guess she's like saying elevation in the sense of like exposure. And so that is what Stacey is saying. Like, I told her like she could be the sole designer for Strut for Strays, and that's how she did me. And so then that's when what's her name, Giselle, said, so that's why it's F that B. And she was like, yeah, that's why it's F that B. And so I was like, Stacy head getting big, because I said, girl, who are you to say that you elevated somebody? And like I said in the drama video, which check it out for yourself, I found out that a lot of people said that Vivian is like a well-known socialite in the DMV area. So for Stacy to think that she did anything says a lot. So Stacy's like, absolutely, it's F her. I said, girl, it's not that deep. And then she said she was dead to her. The whole F that B, I was like, okay. But when she was like, she's dead to me, I said, girl, over a dress? Over a dress that wasn't even that cute? So then they were like, so is this the real Stacy, the 313 Stacy? And Stacy was like, well, Wendy got it up out of me. I said, this is over. We're talking about Ashley's bunions. We find out that they're genetic. I don't understand why she won't get them removed, because she was definitely like tiptoeing in her heels, trying to get on stage because they hurt, because they were pressing the straps on the heels were pressing up against her bunion. You got enough money to get that. I'm surprised like Michael didn't offer to get them things removed off your feet. They then start talking about Wendy's Michelin Man dress. I think the dress is pretty, but the shoulders are ugly. Like, I know it's supposed to be fashion, but they're ugly to me. And we find out that Andy messaged Wendy, and they showed the text message where he said, we need to discuss this dress, professor. And Wendy said, OMG, I was so torn on this look. I was given Michelin Man tees. And Wendy said, yeah, I owned it. Then they talk about Kiarna and her Super Saiyan, cartoonish shoulder pads. And she was like, it was a moment, but I got a lot of flack for it. They all start talking about Ashley, and a viewer was like, Ashley, do you own any like full shirt outfits? Like, you either got your breast out or your stomach out. And Ashley said it's going to keep being out. I say, look, do you? They talked about Ashley being Ashton, T.O.P., and how everybody thought she was a very attractive man. They showed Karen being like, oh, damn. I said, girl, well, Karen might get a lot of that while she in jail. Because, Karen is really going to jail, y'all. Oh, my God. She's really going to jail. Girl, because Ashley ends up saying that Karen felt something in her chest about like Ashley, and had her questioning things. They talk about the outfit and how Ashley and Wendy had on the same outfit, and Ashley was like, girl, I was not copying you. Like, I didn't even know what you were going to wear. And then Wendy was like, they peeked through my window to get my my ideas for my outfit. And then Giselle shades Wendy being like, girl, ain't nobody going to Pennsylvania to see what you got on. Because I told y'all, Wendy lives all the way in Delaware. Once you go past Baltimore, you're basically in Delaware, Pennsylvania territory. That's why during season 6, everybody was complaining about going to see Wendy for that dinner, because she lives in Delaware. That's like a good 2-hour drive. And then don't let it be traffic. No, ma'am. So I thought that was funny. Another viewer question was like, Mia, what happened to your fits? Because when you were with Gordon, you were wearing blazers and polos and business attire. Now that you're with Ink, you just wearing Fashion Over. The way I screamed, I said, oh, clock it. And so Mia was like, I'm not changing up my style because of the men. I said, you sure about that? Because it's definitely giving that, Mia. It's also giving you don't got the money you had before then, But she ends up saying that, I had a corporate job. And you got Kiarna over there tickled. She giggling. She was like, I got a corporate job, but now that I don't have a corporate job anymore, I wear Fashion Nova. And so she's like, I'm also getting paid to wear it. So Giselle shades her, being like, that's all you can afford, pretty much. And like I said, Kiarna is over there dying laughing. So then they talk about the dress that what's her name, Giselle wore at the Strut for Strays outfit, and how Stacy didn't want anybody to wear that dress because she didn't want anyone to upstage her. And I already told y'all that Giselle ended up saying that she gave the outfit to Wendy, and Wendy even confirms that Giselle, when they were doing confessionals, pretty much gave me the dress. And she only wore the dress to get under Stacy's skin, because Stacy was like, nobody can wear that dress. And she was just over her. So then Stacy starts laughing, because she laughs. But then Stacy was like, but did you donate, Giselle? Why not wear that dress for a good cause? And Giselle says, while all the dogs were shitting, I did donate. And they flash back to when all the dogs were pooping at the Strut for Strays. She was like, did you donate to me? So then they also talk about who wears the best 613. Stacey ends up saying Giselle, but Giselle doesn't wear 613. She wears like the Beyonce honey blonde. Honestly, the best person that wears 3613, or not 36, 613 is Karen. For everybody else, it just washes them out. And then Mia says it looks great on Karen when it's not sliding back. Talking about the mugshot. Oh, I said, oh my God. Mia got Karen for that, even though Karen not there, because Karen gonna be in jail. Jesus, she gonna be in jail, Lord. She gonna be in jail. My Lord. My Lord. So they move on from that. And then they start talking about Stacey's ears. So Giselle was like, yeah, because the next question that Andy ends up asking is like, how did Stacey feel about everyone critiquing her wig that she wore for the season finale? And she said her feelings was hurt because they were critiquing her outfits all throughout the season. She felt like she was getting hazed. And the wig, girl, the wig looked synthetic and cheap and the dress wasn't that cute. And everybody else on stage was like, girl, we were trying to give you tips because the wigs was looking bad, Stacey. And then she tried to be like, Kiana came for my edges. And Kiana said, girl, I was trying to help. And she really was, because your edges were a fool. Stacey, you was wearing half wigs and your leave out would be natural and the rest of the wig would be sleek. It was giving like baby doll hair, girl. It wasn't cute. It wasn't cute. So then they talk about Giselle calling Stacey an alien because Giselle was like, we've never seen your ears, Stacey. So I was just trying to make sure you weren't an alien. I was like, Giselle, what? So then we find out that Stacey did send Giselle a video of her ears, and she was like, Giselle didn't even respond to it. I said, this is a mess. It's time for Jacqueline to get on stage. She's sitting down on stage. Honestly, Jacqueline could have been a Zoom call in because she added nothing to this part two, to be honest. I'm surprised that Jazzy had a better segment than Jacqueline, and Jacqueline was here for the whole entire season. So it starts off with them asking Jacqueline when she's due, because she full on and good and pregnant. She is due in May. Ashley has gotten her, trying to get her to reminisce when they was trying to make out in the bathroom in Panama. Yeah. And they're laughing and giggling about that. They all ask her, so who's the father? She ends up saying that the father of her child has never been shown on Bravo TV. So everyone's like, so it's not Patrick, the man that you've been chasing after for 13 years? Okay. So then she's like, so then everyone's like, girl, so who the daddy? She tries to play coy and be like, well, you have to wait and see. And then Mia makes this face where she's like, and I don't know why she made that face, other than I was just like, are you making that face because you know you're on the chopping block, and if you're not here, then she's not here? Or are you making that face because you didn't want to hear what Jacqueline had to say and you felt like it was stupid? Because to be in all honest, like when it comes to Mia and Jacqueline's relationship, we all know that it's one-sided. And if Jacqueline is not wedged up Mia's you know what, then Mia don't want to hear what she got to say. So I was just kind of like, why'd you make that face, girl? So we move over to Mia's segment. When I tell you Mia was so unprepared, like I said in the intro, I was so surprised that she was unprepared. I really thought Mia was going to come to this reunion and be somewhat shameless about her behavior throughout the season. But girl, she came to this reunion not ready. I think she was totally banking on the fact that Karen got convicted and was guilty of her DUI, that she thought the whole entire reunion was going to be about Karen. But even if Karen were to show up to the reunion, Karen was only going to be probably like the first part of the reunion and maybe half of this second part. But the rest of the reunion was going to be about you. The DUI story and this paternity test was the focal point of this entire season. So I don't know why she wasn't prepared. It felt like Mia came ready to like lie her way through it the way she did throughout the season. But the girls were on her neck. They was not letting her breathe. And she definitely wasn't fighting back. It was definitely giving Yuji and Nanami beating up Mahito on Jujutsu Kaisen. Just pop, pop, pop. I was like, girl, fight back. Do something. Swing. She was getting beat up. And I was just like, ooh, girl. And I told y'all, Mia was either going to walk off that stage or she was going to have a breakdown in her dressing room. And both things happened. But the build up to each one, I felt like it was going to be far worse. Like her crying in her dressing room because Stacey and Jazzy didn't accept her apology. I was like, girl, it's not that deep. It's not that deep. They don't accept your apology. Then with this situation, when Giselle was like, girl, you are a bad mother. And she's like, okay, not when it comes to my kids, but you contradicted yourself because the whole entire season was about your child's paternity. It was just, girl, she fumbled so hard. Like I said, girl, this is cringy because you getting beat up and you don't have nothing to fight back with. So Mia's Be Real footage is being shown. We see Gordon, we see Ink, we see the little kids. Everybody kind of made a face when they got to the segment where they were telling the kids about the divorce, and the little girl said, "You can't marry Mr. Ink." And everyone was like, "Ooh, girl." So Mia is like jamming a tissue into her tear ducts because now she's like, "Oh my gosh, we have to talk about my segment." So she goes on and she's just like, when you're in it, it doesn't seem that bad and you feel like you're making all the right decisions. But when you get out of it, you realize you didn't make the right choices. And that's what I'm realizing. Like watching my family crumble. I work so hard. I have beautiful children. And I said, "Girl, what does all of this have to do with that?" So then Giselle's on the other side of the couch rolling her eyes hard because she don't believe anything what Mia got to say. They then get on the topic of her relationship with Ink, and we all know they broke up. So Andy ends up being like, "So why'd y'all break up?" And she's like, "Well, having a public relationship is so hard, like it's just a lot." So then Andy's like, "But Mia, your tagline was Ink is forever." The way that Ashley did this and started laughing, I screamed. I said, "Ooh, Andy, you shady. You messy for that one." But I lived for it. And Mia's like, "Yeah, no, he's going to always be in my life." Honestly, when it comes to Mia, when she talks about Ink, I believe her because it seems like she is so wrapped up, like her nose is wide open for that man. And it's wild that she's in love with that little short man. So they then get on to this question where Andy ends up asking the ladies, how do they feel about Ink? Like minus his height. And Wendy ends up going first, where she basically says, like, "I think he really loves Mia or cares about Mia, but I don't think he was prepared for pretty much the backlash or the critiques from the fans." And she's like, "When you in this is different. When you being an outsider and then coming in, you think you are going to have a different experience, but that's not the case. And I don't think he was prepared for everybody to come at him." Ashley chimes in and she's like, "No, I think Ink wanted to be on TV." And then Giselle seconds Ashley and's like, "Yeah, no, he wanted to be on TV. And I don't really think that Ink and Mia really broke up. I think that Mia was aware of the backlash and she wanted to lay the relationship low, mainly because she couldn't handle what everybody was giving to her. Also, I know that Mia doesn't live in the DMV area. She lives in Atlanta with Ink." Everybody said, "Girl, what?" You got Stacey being like, "She don't live here." And Mia's like, "What are you talking about, Giselle?" And then Giselle's like, "Girl, I've been hearing that you be in the back of the planes all the time. You be flying back and forth. You always fly in to do your interviews." And then Mia's like, "Yeah, I go back and forth from Atlanta to the DMV, but I got like an apartment here." I honestly could believe Mia lives in Atlanta. I really could. But then someone asked her, "What about your kids? Like, what school?" I think it was Andy was like, "Well, what school do your kids go to?" And she ends up saying something about homeschooling or private homeschool. I said, "Girl, what's the difference?" But she's like, "Yeah, homeschooling." And they were like, "Well, do they have to be in the state to do that?" And Mia's like, "No, they could be virtually anywhere." So then they're like, "So you could be in Atlanta and they could be in Atlanta doing their homework." I said, "Ooh, girl, Mia." Because the thing about it is, I don't know. I feel like Mia's lying about the homeschool thing. And the reason why I say that is, when she put out that statement about her kids being homeschooled, everyone was like, okay. But then when we got to one of the episodes, she was talking about making cookies for the kids' teachers. So I'm like, are these teachers coming to the house and teaching them, or are they going to school? That's why you don't lie, because then now everyone starts to dissect what you're saying. So everyone is like, "Yeah, girl, so you live in Atlanta," because that wasn't a good segue. So then Wendy segues the conversation back to herself, where she's like, "Andy, I answered your question, but Mia, I have to be real with you. It definitely gave that you, Ink, and Gordon were in cahoots. Y'all concocted this plan so you could stay on this show, and this could be your storyline. But then the backlash, and it started to look bad for you. You couldn't handle it, so you dropped Ink." And that's when Giselle chimes in, pretends to drop Ink, and then now you're trying to clean it up with posting all these pictures and all of this and all of that. So then Andy was like, "But they're getting a divorce." And Wendy's like, "That's a lie. That's a lie." So everyone's like, "What?" And so Ashley shaking her head like, "Yeah, girl, that's what it's feeling like." So then Andy was like, "What would be the point of doing all of this?" Because Wendy ends up being like, "What would be the point? To be on this show, to be first chair, she don't got nothing else. If you take away the show, what would be the point of all of this right now?" And so Ashley is like, "Yeah, it definitely gives that. It definitely gives you did all of this for that." So all Mia could say is no. and then turn back around. That lets you know that what Wendy said, that what she said had truth to it to a certain extent, because a lot of people have always felt that Gordon was in cahoots with them. I'm like, I'm like 60-40. Like 60% of me is like, I see where y'all are going with this. 40% of me is like, no, only because the way that Gordon reacts to Ink gives very much like, maybe I was in on it, but now that it's playing out, I don't want no parts of it. That's what it's given to me. But after watching that IG live, maybe y'all are right that they was all in cahoots together. But her response just being no, I was like, oh my God, girl, she telling the truth. She telling the truth. Segment, and one of the viewers' questions is about the paternity test storyline, and the person basically was like, "Girl, this was confusing." So everyone at this point is like on Mia's neck because they were like, "Girl, why would you bring this to camera? And like, why would you subject your child to this?" Because I think Giselle was like, "You don't think he's gonna find out about this?" And then Mia's like, well, he doesn't have social media. He's 9 years old. I said, girl, my 9-year-old cousins be on Instagram. Well, not really. They be on TikTok more than anything, learning the little dances and stuff like that. But I think Ashley was like, you don't think the kid's parents that he's around know about this storyline? And they were like, obviously you need to tell him. And Andy was like, yeah. And then Mia was like, well, we're going to tell him when he's a teenager. Girl, you need to tell him now because this is embarrassing and you need to tell him now. So then I think that's when Kiarna chimes in and she basically says, like, I'm going to be honest, this whole thing was confusing. Like, one minute we would have your back because you would tell us something. Then the next minute we would see something different. And it was just a cycle of going back and forth. Like, you made it a lot, Mia. Like, it was confusing. And she was like, no wonder Gordon was going through so many episodes because after a while, I felt like we was going to have to call the people on you because it was giving elder abuse. I said, not elder abuse. I said, okay. And so Mia's like, well, our relationship ebbs and flows. I said, I guess, girl. I guess. Andy tries to stick up for Mia by saying, well, Gordon is the one that brought the story about his diagnosis to camera. On top of that, Mia has protected him. I was like, has she really protected him? Because it's definitely given like they just didn't tell us anything by omission. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I would ever want Mia to protect me because if this is, this isn't really protection. She letting him out there, but it's just like, she couldn't protect me. So then they start talking about the paternity test again, but more so about like, is Jeremiah Gordon's child? Because Wendy was like, girl, didn't you get pregnant by an IUD where they have to implant like I think the embryo inside you? And Mia's like, yes. So then and this is interesting because a lot of people were talking about how last season on the reunion stage, Mia did say that she knows who the father of her kids is. And she said it was Gordon because she got pregnant through IUD. So it was just kind of like, because that means it was an embryo. So his sperm, your egg, they just implanted inside of you. And so Mia was just like, well, I wasn't sure because I could have been pregnant before him because of the overlapping of her relationship with Ink. But then everyone was like, girl, that don't compute. And she was like, well, Mia was like, well, what do you mean? And everyone's like, well, you have to get a pregnancy test done before you get an IUD. And she's like, well, no, like you have to be 4 weeks pregnant, like when you take the pregnancy test. So then everyone's like, yeah, but girl, they would not implant like the embryo inside you if you were already pregnant. Like that doesn't make sense. So then Ashley chimes in and she's like, girl, they also take your blood. And I was like, yeah, anytime I go to the gynecologist, they make you pee. And if you are unsure about like whether or not you're pregnant, you could ask to get your blood drawn. And I would think before they implant an embryo inside of you and they know you have an active sex life with your husband, they would probably make you pee and they would probably take blood from you just in case. So that felt like a lie too, Mia. So then Stacey is like, girl, don't you want to end this? Like, just clear this up. Like, this is horrible what you're doing to your child. And then Ashley chimes in and she was like, girl, this just feels like a huge production, like just a huge orchestrated production. Like, this doesn't really feel genuine from you, Mia. So then Mia lets it be known that Jeremiah is Gordon's child and that they did like an official test. So everyone's like, okay, thank you. So moving on, they start talking about Gordon because Mia was the reason of having Ink and Gordon in the same vicinity of each other. And Mia was like, I thought that they could, like, we could show healthy co parenting. And Giselle is like, that's what you thought you was doing? Because Gordon told you he didn't want to film. And Mia said he was cool with it. They were cool for a year. And then he switched up and started to make me look bad like he always do. But my thing about that scene, Gordon told you off rip, when it's me, you, and the kids, and Ink is there, I will be cordial. But if it ain't got nothing to do with the kids, I'm not going to be cordial. So you could have filmed that scene with Gordon without Ink. Ink could have just sat in your bedroom while the two of y'all were talking. And Gordon made it clear that he didn't want to have that conversation in front of Ink. But you wanted them to talk to each other like Ink was somebody's daddy or your husband. Because it'd be one thing if Ink was actually the father of Jeremiah and Gordon was the father of Juju. They do have to get along to a certain extent because their kids are living in the same household and their siblings. And it also would be different if Mia and Mia and Ink were married, because it's like you want to know who your children are around, so he should develop a relationship with Ink. But Ink is a nobody at this point in the situation. He's just your boyfriend. He holds no weight. So I got why Gordon was upset, because it was like, I done told you I'm not filming with this boy. So then Mia and Giselle get into it, because Giselle keeps reiterating, girl, the only reason why you switched up your story is because of the social media backlash. You talking all about how you were sharing what healthy co-parenting looks like now, but honestly, if the fans would have accepted the storyline, you wouldn't be doing all of this. You're only doing this because social media dragged you through the mud. So then Mia gets frustrated and ends up being like, my child, like my oldest son's father and Gordon have a great relationship. I thought that we could see that happening again. And Giselle was just like, we not talking about him. We talking about what you got going on now. So then a question is posed to Jacqueline about why does Mia kind of have, like, what do you think about this relationship with Mia and Gordon? And Jacqueline says what she said in that one episode. I told Mia not to mix Gordon and Ink together, but this looks familiar because in one breath, Gordon will be having a good time with people, and then in the next breath, he not cool with it. And they move on. Another viewer question also asked about like Mia's funny relationship with the truth. And Jacqueline basically says, Mia has never lied to me. She does exaggerate some things, but she's never lied to me. And Mia says, yes, she has told me that too. So I guess she know her friend. So next thing you know, they were like, where is Gordon anyway? Because I guess they thought Gordon was going to come to the reunion. And Mia said Gordon was supposed to come to the reunion to like clear her name. That's why they did that IG live, but it didn't clear either one of their names. It just kind of lended to the narrative that they're all working together. And so nobody believes her that Gordon was supposed to come to the reunion and help clear her name. She was so shocked when Wendy was like, Mia, I don't believe that. And Mia was like, and everyone's like, yeah, Mia, we don't believe it, girl. We don't believe it. Then Jacqueline's dodo self was like, you don't believe he has bipolar? Girl, no one said they don't believe the man has bipolar. They're saying that they don't believe that he was coming there to help her. Nobody believes that. So then Giselle's like, girl, the lies, the lies, the lies. Like, shouts out to Candy. Like, you're lying. No one believes you. And everyone's just like, girl, this just felt like Ashley reiterates, it just feels like this, like you orchestrated all of this for production purposes to stay on this show. Like, this not giving believable. It's not. So Mia is kind of taken aback that nobody believes her. And it's like, well, you've lied so much. What do you expect them to do? So now we're at the end of the reunion, pretty much, where we're finishing up, well, probably not finishing up, but maybe finishing up Mia's segment. And a viewer question brings up how Mia doesn't like when people talk about her kids, but yet you brought up Giselle's kids and you put a very negative narrative out there about them. And they flash back to Ashley's fundraiser, saying that she feels bad for what she did. And you could tell whenever Mia is like, she knows she's in trouble, she starts to speak like very soft, like very childlike, like very like the voice is very low. Like, and I told Giselle I was sorry. I told her I was sorry for what I said. And Giselle said, girl, you can keep that. You can keep that because you said sorry, but then when we was at the event where Ashley looked like a man, you walked up on me like you was about to do something. So they show unforeseen footage where the ladies are like sitting after everything has wrapped for Ashley's drag king performance, and Giselle ends up telling Mia, keep my children's names out your mouth. And Mia ends up saying, keep my children's name out of your mouth. And so there's a table in between them. Mia was kind of sitting on the other side, and then she walks up with her finger. And I think she thought Giselle was going to flinch, but Giselle kept her finger. She was like, you keep my kids' names out your mouth. I said, oh, not Giselle, not flinching. Like, she was like, girl, you not moving me. And Mia got up to that table, and then you see Kiana being like, girl, it probably got PTSD. She like, back up. Y'all like, let's back up. And then you see production in the background walk up. Why wasn't that in the episode? Y'all be taking out the good parts of the episode. Stupid. So they were like, so then Wendy is like, when did that happen? Like, did they show that? And Kiana's like, girl, no, you remember it was at the end of the night at Ashley's thing. And then Wendy's like, oh, I don't remember because they didn't show it. But Wendy is sitting at the table, so she was there. So then Mia says she did that because Giselle called her a horrible mother. And Giselle's like, I stand on that. To bring to the show questioning the paternity of your child, that is you being a bad mother. No one who's a good parent would do something like that. Now, granted, Giselle, we know what you was trying to do season 5. But right here, we in the present right here. She right. If you really cared about the well-being of your child mentally, you would not do nothing like this. You would, because this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing because I can only imagine like being his age and saying you get into a fight with somebody. The first thing they gonna come out is like, you don't even know who your daddy is. Your mama a hoe. That's something I would say at the age of 9 if you was messing with me and I was irritated. I would just be like, girl, get out my face. You don't even know who your dad is. Your mom's a whore. And you have the ammunition is there because you decided to come on TV and play this story out when you already cleared it up at the end of last season. This is your fault, Mia. And as much as people are like mad at Gordon because Gordon brought it to the show and things of that nature, he did. But the thing about it is Gordon brought it to the show last season and y'all cleared it up at the reunion. So my thing was, what was the point of y'all bringing it to us for this season? So, I mean, they're both guilty, but I guess more onus is on Mia because she is the housewife, I'm guessing. So they're arguing back and forth. And then now all of a sudden Mia gets worked up because she don't like the fact that she being called a bad mother. And she was like, I'm done. When it comes to my kids, I'm done. I said, now when it comes to your kids. So she walks off the stage. Ashley ends up saying, girl, I guess the truth hurts. We then see Wendy be like, I don't like the fact that people can't take accountability for the stuff that they do. Giselle's like, yeah, especially all the shit she did. Like bitch, bye. Like, you should be like, you should take ownership of what you did and acknowledge it and take accountability. You can tell that Andy is annoyed that Mia walked off or kind of disappointed that she walked off the stage because he like his mouth is just like, here we go. Because I guess he's going to either have to run and try to convince her to stay or something. So while all that's going on, Mia is huddled up in her dressing room. We see Greg and Eddie. They end up FaceTiming TJ. We find out that TJ was back in California during the California fires because he had to evacuate. They were like, well, where you at? Why you not at the reunion? He was like, I'm not about to be on that fake A show with them fake A people. I said, ooh. So then they were like, well, we thought you was going to be here. And then it gets all distorted while they're talking. So they're not going to show us until next episode what he said. But Eddie and Greg are like, oh, okay. So then next thing you know, you see the rest of the women on stage kind of stretching. And then Wendy gets a text message from Eddie that says, Greg and I just FaceTime with TJ and he dropped a bomb on us. So then Wendy's like, y'all, I think she said, I think she said WTF. So everyone's like, what? Even production, there was people in the back like, girl, what? I hate when people do that. Explain it to me now because my anxiety is up and I think something bad has happened. And they're like, what? Wendy, what? And she just kind of has this face like, ooh, y'all, this is about to be juicy. Juicy, girl. And then the episode goes off. At the end of the episode, what I will say is I hope whatever we get from TJ is actually good tea and not him just admitting that him and Stacey weren't in a real relationship because everybody knew that. But for them to be gassing it up like where everyone is like so shocked, being like, oh my gosh, I want good tea. When it comes to Mia walking off stage, I'm disappointed in her, mainly because I expected her to be shameless the same way she was throughout the entire season. And for her to walk off the stage just let me know that she knows she overplayed her hand and that she is not equipped for what is happening to her. I think Mia thought that she was that it girl because I didn't mention this. Wendy was telling everybody business. Wendy I wouldn't be telling Wendy nothing in closed doors. You told on Stacey about what she said about Vivian. And now you telling on Mia about calling herself the Beyonce of the group and everybody else are Michelle's. Stop the Michelle slander, okay? She's on Broadway killing it, okay? Like, but I will say when we used to do like when me and my cousins or my friends used to like pretend to be Destiny's Child, I was always Kelly. Okay. I was always Calandria, okay? But I just feel like Mia really thought she was going to be that girl. It's like she really, and I did too. I thought Mia was going to be the new it girl for Potomac, but this storyline definitely backfired on her. And it just got so convoluted that you could tell that the lies got away from her. And it made the lies were so bad that we could all tell that she was lying. So yeah, I don't know. I could see her coming back for season 10. But I don't know if she's gonna want to come back because she definitely is going to have to do like really good damage control, and I don't know if she can come back from this. But that's it, y'all. So as always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in the comments below and share your thoughts with me. Subscribe and like the video. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.